Hello, beautiful people. Today is 4th of August. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today in GS Folder, we'll take a quote from Reynold Niebuhr, who was an American philosopher. He says, "Man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary." Now, guys, this particular statement points that not only the acceptance of democracy is fundamental to bring democracy, rather, the rejection of democracy is even more compelling case to bring the democracy. So, in any circumstance, democracy is the most plausible political option. Guys, you can use this quote very conveniently onto the essays relating to democracy, and up to now, large number of essays have been asked onto the democracy. Now, friends, the main question that I gave you yesterday, so was a 10 marker question from GS paper number 2. Question says that new education policy 2020 needs appreciation for its focus on early childhood care and education. But in order to be successful, equal contribution from parent is also needed. Comment. So, guys, we can start with the introduction by highlighting that parents are the first tutor or the natural tutors with which a student interacts. Moreover, the substantial amount of time that is spent at home calls for even more greater participation by the end of parents. Moreover, ECCE is not an option, rather, it is a necessity given the cognitive development of a child happens till the age of 5 to 6 years, and this is the time when even greater focus is to be given by the parents. So, they are the equal co-contributors into the development of the child. And after this, guys, you will provide a brief link, and into this link you will provide that it is highly desirable, but at the same time there are a large number of impediments due to which parents are not able to participate. And guys, now the impediments we will divide in three types: aspirational, then is the information, and third is the motivation or measurement. Aspiration is that many a times parents are not inclined or are not aspired towards the child's early care and education, and therefore attitudinal change is needed. Then I, it is information. Information means they don't have the competency or the talent or the knowledge as how they can assist. So their government needs to provide them the knowledge through adequate tools. And M means motivation. So guys, from time to time parents need to be made motivated. Moreover, how they can track the measurement of their child, such kind of tools should also be made available. And by bringing three factors, we can constructively involve the parents into the early childhood care and education. So guys, this was the thinking line on which you can write. So that's it, guys, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire paper first. So guys, you can see that here the gratuity period has been reduced. So guys, with respect to the labor reforms, we'll see the issues involved here. Then guys, here you can see that the three language formula has been rejected. So we'll see the background and the issues associated with the three language formula. Now guys, here just briefly you can see that the SpaceX and NASA crew has returned back. So for the first time, USA fired the first commercial flight into the space, and this is the success of that commercial flight from the SpaceX corporation. However, just that's it. Then guys, moving forward, you can see that only the regional news has been mentioned here, which is not important for our exam. So guys, here you can see that the success study of Odisha has been mentioned. So we'll see that how we can use it into the exam. Then guys, moving forward, nothing important has been given. Here onto the editorial page, this editorial talks about the Jammu and Kashmir. This editorial also talks about Jammu and Kashmir, and it also talks about J&K. So we'll see all the issues which are involved here. Then guys, Toxic Brew, it talks about the Hooch tragedy which happened in Punjab. So we'll see the issues involved here. Then guys, conservative challenge to Hindutva, not important for our exam. It talks about the Sri Lankan issues with respect to the Tamilian political parties, as what problems they are facing, not important directly for our exam. Then guys, profiteering during a time of pandemic, so we'll see the issues involved here. Then guys, moving forward, again the regional news have been mentioned, or political news, not important for our exam. Then here the draft policy with respect to the enhancing manufacturing in defense has been mentioned, so we'll see the issues involved here. Then guys, See, here is an article that expression of opinion is not contempt. So, guys, a few days back we had seen the case of the Prashant Bhushan, where he has been charged of the contempt power by the Supreme Court because he issued certain tweets. So, in that particular direction, this matter is going on. However, nothing concrete has came in this particular direction. Then, guys, MG Narega running out of funds. So, we'll see what are the issues. Then, guys, moving forward, showcase page not important for our exam. So now we're on to the world page. So guys, here China has suspended the treaty with the New Zealand. We'll see what has happened. Other news not that important. Then guys, on to the business page. Much of the corporate news has been mentioned. Then guys, moving forward, here we can see that the leopard census have been mentioned. So in that particular regard, we'll see the issues involved. So that's it, guys. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, friends, starting up. So, first news item that we can see here is with respect to the labor reforms. Now, guys, right now, if I give you a little background before going into this news item, then see, labor is a very important aspect for the industrial sector as well as for the manufacturing sector. Now guys, the subject of labor in India is given under the concurrent list under the schedule number 7 of the Indian constitution, and because it is in concurrent list, both the center as well as state can make the law. And guys, right now if I tell you, there are more than 200 laws onto the subject of the labor. Some of them are minor, some of them are the major, and due to this thing there are so many conflicts that neither the labor's welfare is ensured, nor industrial competency or industrial efficiency is ensured, and a lot of other things are also there. So guys, government in last few year has decided that 44 of the major labor laws will be compressed into the four codes, that is the labor code on wages, labor code on industrial security and welfare, labor code on industrial relation, and labor code on social security. Now most of them are towards the finalization, and this labor code on wages, it has been approved by parliament, and even will be operational by September. Now guys, as a part of today's news article, we will be focusing onto the labor code on the social security. So guys, social security is very crucial for the laborers because we know that large number of laborers are living at the sustenance level, and even the part 4 of the Indian constitution, DPSP, state has been given an explicit mandate that they need to conserve the social welfare of the laborers. So guys, under this particular code which government will be bringing, a large number of social security related laws will be compressed. Now guys, talking about the social security laws, there is one particular law, that is the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. Now, first of all, guys, gratuity, it is a lump sum amount that is payable to an employee at the time of his retirement or his death or his termination. Now, friends, according to this particular act, all the organization which have involved the 10 persons or more, even for a single day in last 12 months, that organization will be covered under this particular act. And guys, once an organization comes under the Payment of Gratuity Act, it always stays there. So guys, this is the present structure. Now, what will be the payment of gratuity? How much money will be given to the person during this particular time? It is derived onto the basis of a formula, and that is not the concern of our exam. Now guys, one important thing is that under this existing law, if an employee wants to be entitled for the gratuity, then he should minimum work for the 5 years. Only after that he can receive the gratuity. But guys, now into the present crisis and into the present wake of economic conditions, there are large number of people who are being laid off before the 5 year period, number one. Number two, many a times people are hired for such kind of jobs whose duration is not 5 years, whose duration is less. So guys, in these conditions, the workers are not getting any kind of gratuity. So guys, now government has said that as labor codes are being compressed, and there is the labor code on social security also, under this particular labor code, the Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972 will also be covered, and the rules with respect to the payment of gratuity will be changed. And guys, now you will understand the news. So now it has been said that gratuity period will be reduced to 1 year. It means now the bar of 5 year will not be there, and even if you work for 1.5 years, you will get the gratuity. Moreover, guys, it has been said that there it should be extended to all kind of employees, whether formal, informal, contractual, etc. Moreover, guys, it has also been said that if employees are not paying, then there should be a robust redressal mechanism which should solve the grievances and should give justice to the laborers. Now, guys, these suggestions were given by a parliamentary standing committee on labor. Apart from this particular thing, they had also said that the employees' contribution to the EPF should be reduced during the time of the disasters, because at that particular point of time they face a lot of other miseries, and therefore their contribution should be reduced so that their in hand salary can get increased. So, guys, that's the entire issue with the background. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here we can see one issue which is talking about the rejection of the three language formula. Now, guys, it could be a relevant topic under the federal issues as well as issues with respect to the education, particularly the criticism of the new education policy 2020. Now, guys, before going into the news, let's have look onto the background. See, guys, in our constitution, article number 351 talks about the promotion and development of the Hindi language. And guys had said that union government should take steps into this particular direction. Now, guys, first of all, in 1968, our first national education policy came, and it talked about the three language formula, according to which into the Hindi speaking states as well as non Hindi speaking states, certain changes will be made with respect to the language of instruction. So, into the Hindi speaking state, it was said that they need to learn three languages. That is, one is Hindi, other is any modern Indian language, particularly from the South India, and the fourth it will be the English. Similarly, into the non Hindi speaking state, they will learn one their regional or local language, for example, Tamil for the Tamil Nadu. Then, other language need to be Hindi, and third language needs to be English. Now, guys, because of this particular thing, there was opposition, particularly from the South Indian states, that Hindi is being imposed on them, and that this happened to be the major contention here. Now, guys, coming to the present time, in 2019, when the draft national education policy was submitted by the Kasturi Rangan committee, there was also the mention of the three language formula, and in 2019 also there was a huge backlash with respect to this particular thing. However, center said that this is just a draft, and some conciliation was given to the South Indian states. And now, coming to 2020, finally, the National Education Policy was released by the Ministry of Human Resource and Development. Now, guys, initially only the highlights were given and the full document was not released. Now, into these highlights, there was a certain mention, for example, Sanskrit as a language will be offered at all the levels. Then, up to class 5th, the teaching needs to be into the regional language or local language, and if possible even beyond the 5th class, that particular thing should be explored. Now, first of all, there was certain problems here we had already discussed, the case of the Kendriya Vidyalayas. Then, guys, now when the paper of the new education policy released into the public, there a paragraph has been found, and in that paragraph, very vaguely, three language formula has been mentioned. And now again, the problems or resentment which was there in 2019, which was there in 1968, those resentment had came alive, and the Tamil Nadu chief minister has very vocally said that they will be rejecting the three language formula and will not be implementing it. Now, guys, in response, the Ministry of Education had said that we are very clear from the very start that no language will be imposed onto the state. State are flexible to adopt whatever path they will be adopting. So, guys, this is the entire issue which is going on. However, the bottom line or the conclusion has not been finalized till now. Just a kind of an exchange is going on, and as it will be finally settled, we'll see that what has happened. But you should know all these things which are happening behind the curtains. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here just for the reference, we will see the success example of the state of Odisha. Now, guys, before going into this, just have a background first. As we had seen the new education policy which was announced recently, there was a provision into the new education policy that up to fifth standard, the children should be given instructions into either mother tongue or into the local language. Now, guys, couple of things. First of all, it looks very easy, but its implementation could be very difficult into the states which have a significant tribal population, because a they speak large number of different languages. B, there are no adequate supplementary reading materials for tribals. But guys, at the same time, it is also the reality that such things can prove great advantage to the tribal people, because normally they have a very difficulty in connecting with the mainstream language. So the bottom line here is that this thing is very good, but its implementation is very challenging, and large number of states which have tribal population will face this challenge in times to come. But here the Odisha is a successful example, because from last 20 years they are running multilingual education. Now, guys, Odisha has more than 62 tribes, including 13 particularly vulnerable tribal groups. And these 62 tribes, they speak more than 21 languages and 74 dialects. Now, this is huge linguistic diversity, but Odisha had successfully managed to deal with this, and already they had developed the teaching materials into these 21 languages with the help of the Academy of Tribal Language and Culture, as well as the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Research Training Institution. So, guys, they are ready to implement this new provision. Moreover, guys, Odisha is also running the Santhali medium schools, and because this is the major tribal spoken language, and therefore already imparting the instruction to the people into their understandable language. So, guys, you can mention the name of Odisha as a successful case study. Now, guys, just one additional thing. See, Santhali also happens to be one of the language into the 8th schedule. Just keep it in your mind if a question in prelims is asked on such things. So that's all here, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, there's about to be 1 year anniversary of the revocation of Article number 370 and the change of status of Jammu and Kashmir. So, therefore, all these three articles are talking on to that particular line, and I have clubbed them all. Now, guys, at various points, the references to the majoritarianistic politics of the ruling government, the Hindutva agenda, etc., has been mentioned, which makes the article little bit politically inclined. So that thing we need not to see into the articles wherever it has been mentioned. We need to see it purely from the academic point of view. Now, guys, before going into the articles, let's have a basic background first, and guys, let's revise the sequences up to 2019. Now, guys, you most of you might be knowing that at the time of independence, there were large number of princely states in India, and they were given an option that they can join Pakistan, can join India, or can stay independence. Now, Jammu and Kashmir under the Raja Hari Singh chose to stay independent. But guys, soon after the independence, infiltration was carried by Pakistan into the Jammu and Kashmir under the name of the tribal uprising. And here, Raja Hari Singh approached India that India should help. But at that point of time, Lord Mountbatten said that until and unless Jammu and Kashmir doesn't joins India, it will not be possible to help the Jammu and Kashmir. So therefore, instrument of accession was signed between Jammu Kashmir and India, and Jammu and Kashmir surrendered the defense, foreign relation and communication to India, and signed the instrument of accession. Guys, in return, India said that Article number 370 will be constituted, which will give autonomy to Jammu and Kashmir. Various other special provisions were also to be given. So, all these things happened. Then, India helped Jammu and Kashmir. We fought the Pakistan. In process, Jammu and Kashmir was taken back. However, some part of Jammu and Kashmir fell into the hands of Pakistan, to which today we called as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now, guys, after this arrangement in 1952, the Delhi Agreement was signed between Jammu and Kashmir and India, and it outlined the future relationship. Now, guys, just to make concepts more clear, see, there are two things with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. One is Article number 370, which provides for the broad framework for Jammu and Kashmir's autonomy. It provides that there could be certain provisions of constitution which might not be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, and all these kind of things. However, detailed provisions were made by a separate document, that was the an constitutional application to Jammu and Kashmir order, which was issued by the president from time to time. Now, guys, it was passed by president in 1950. Now, coming here, see, 1954 was the year when the final constitution of Jammu and Kashmir came in place, and the final and formal integration of Jammu and Kashmir occurred with the India. And in 1954, therefore, president passed one more new order, that was the constitution application to Jammu and Kashmir order 1954. It superseded this 1950 order, and it provided that into the future what provisions of the constitution will be applicable, what provisions of constitution will not be applicable, and up to 2019 it was broadly governing the relation. Now, cut short to 2019, guys, president issued one more constitutional order, that was the constitution application to Jammu and Kashmir order 2019. Now, guys, first of all, there is a lot of controversy in passing of this constitutional order, because originally it was provided that only by the approval of legislative assembly it could be passed. But, guys, by using technicalities, this thing was bypassed. However, right now I will not go into those details, because otherwise we will be deviating from our present discussion. So, guys, this thing was done. However, apart from this, one more document was passed, that is Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019, by which it was divided in two parts, Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory and Ladakh Union Territory. So these were the key legislations which changed the entire earlier structure. And now, as 1 year is about to be completed, there are certain fundamental questions which are needed to be asked. First of all, guys, after this particular change, a large number of political leaders were arrested, and now around 1 year is about to be completed, but still their arrest is being extended by using the Jammu and Kashmir Public Safety Act. Now, a question arises that all these people were those who were elected by the way of elections, and they were the chosen representatives of the people. And how in a democratic framework they can be kept arrested for so many years? So, guys, it is eroding the civil liberties. It is a kind of an injustice which is against the constitutional values. Moreover, guys, even till now the list of the peoples who have been detained, it has also not been published by the central government, and therefore a lot of secrecy is also involved, which goes against the norm of transparency and openness. And, guys, even the Supreme Court and High Court have also been not very much proactive onto this particular matter, and it is leading to a kind of a abuse. Then, guys, see, second issue comes here is that Jammu and Kashmir, it was said, is being integrated by this particular act. But, guys, under the integration, emotional aspect also needs to be taken. But the entire episode which was carried, there was no approval by the people, and it is being imposed. And, guys, a kind of a muscular nationalism is being imposed on Jammu and Kashmir without their consent, and this is not in spirit of the democratic values, civil liberties which are guaranteed to the citizens. And friends, even large number of scholars had said that the phenomena of militancy which is observed into the Jammu and Kashmir, it is also because the mutual trust is lacking between the Jammu Kashmir and mainland India. The citizens have not till now emotionally integrated, and therefore support is being given to the militants by certain sections or certain fragments. Therefore, in order to remove the militancy, we need to bring the emotional connectivity, mutual trust, and that will only be coming when a kind of a compassion and when a kind of an open heartedness will be shown. But by doing such kind of unilateralist action and by carrying the forced integration, there will be even more mistrust and there will be even more emotional detachment, and thus such kind of activities will bring even more militancy and hatredness into the times to come. Moreover, it will lead to one more point, that is, guys, it is also an erosion of the federalism, because when article number 370 came, then a guarantee was given to the Jammu and Kashmir that their autonomy and their independence will be respected. But guys, just by a kind of a unilateral act by the central government, such kind of guarantee has been just derailed. So therefore it undermines the special federalism which was guaranteed. And after this, the fourth issue is with respect to the article number 370 and 35A. So it was said that these two articles are responsible for underdevelopment, because guys, there are a large number of obstructions here. For example, a person outside from Jammu and Kashmir can't buy the land, and because of this, manufacturing units have not been installed in Jammu and Kashmir, they are not leading to employment, and a large number of underdevelopment comes. Now, on such a premise, a question mark has been raised. It has been said that the development did not came in Jammu and Kashmir not because of this, rather because of the militancy which is going on, and militancy is going on because of the lack of trust. So government should have worked on that thing rather than giving them one more excuse to not to trust the government. So one thing is there. Secondly, guys, it has been said that everybody is forgetting, but actually the land reforms into the entire country was successful into the Jammu and Kashmir. How? Because of the autonomy that has been given by article number 370, Jammu and Kashmir actually carried much good reforms there. Therefore, taking article 370 and 35A only onto the pretext of development is a kind of an oversimplification. Moreover, guys, it is also been often said that due to the enhanced funding given by the central government, the Jammu and Kashmir was able to achieve whatever development has been achieved, and there was no role of the internal governance of Jammu and Kashmir or the article 370 and 35A. But in the article, it has been said that if analysis will be made, then it will be found that no special financial assistance was given. Only the expenditure with respect to the bureaucracy and some special transfers were given, which anyhow are being given all the special category states. Then guys, the fifth issue we come is that when the status was changed, it was said development can defeat militancy and insurgency. But guys, it has been said that the problem with the Jammu and Kashmir is not only the lack of development because it is not there in large number of states. Rather, disputes are because of a complex cocktail which has been made by historical grievances, politico-ethnic demands, increasing religious radicalization, Pakistan's unrelenting interference, etc. So guys, that particular thing can might not be solved by just by changing the status. So guys, all these are the issues associated here. And guys, even onto the singular dimensions also there could be questions, though you need to keep in mind that political inclination should not prevail. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this particular article talks about the recent Hooch tragedy which occurred in Punjab. Now, guys, Hooch tragedy is almost have become a slang whenever the people consume the illicit liquor, a country-made liquor, and when they fall ill or they die, that thing is called as Hooch tragedy. Basically, Hooch means an inferior kind of country-made illicit liquor which often people consume in place of expensive whiskies. So guys, as we know that large number of drinkers, they happens to belong to the lower socio-economic groups, so they consume them as a substitute. But many a times the distillation process of such drinks is not effective, and certain toxic substances are also carried into these bottles, such as methane, and these toxic substances causes the damage such as blindness, tissue damage, and death. And every year there are so many tragedies with respect to the consumption of hooch. Last year also there were tragedies in Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and this year is Punjab. Now guys, into the times of COVID-19, such kind of instances further puts the burden onto the health infrastructure, which is anyhow overburdened. Now, these instances are due to many factors. Number one, still the VAT as well as excise duty onto the liquor is under the state's control, and in many states they have been increased substantially, due to which the legitimate liquor or drinks they become expensive, and therefore people as a substitute resort to these kinds of illicit cheap drinks. Now guys, the logic behind increasing the VAT as well as excise is based on two arguments. Number one is that increased taxes brings much needed revenue, but this is not politically accepted argument. Rather, states rely on a second argument the most. It means that guys, by increasing the taxes and VAT, these drinks will become expensive, and due to this thing, socio-economic groups will not be able to afford them, and they will not become the habitual drinkers. But as we had seen, that it opens the doors to consume the country-made such hooch liquors. Now guys, coming to the second reason, see, there is lack of enforcement onto the crackdown on of the centers where such hooch is being made. So many a times a kind of a nexus between these manufacturers, politicians, police, etc. prevails, and manufacturing goes unabated. Thirdly guys, the people themselves are also not having the health sensitization that what are the actual harms of these kind of hooch liquors, and therefore without any fear they are also consuming them. Now guys, fourth reason is little bit different. See, many states bring a kind of a prohibition. For example, into the Bihar, into the Gujarat, alcohol is completely banned, and this was thought to be something very good, but it has even increased the hooch instances, because when it is not legitimately available, then a even more bigger racket of the hooches it prevails, and such kind of problem happens. Now if we talk about the solutions, then guys, first of all, the enforcement agencies need to be very vigilant to nab the instances of the hooch manufacturing. Secondly guys, these hooch manufacturers, they are able to procure the alcohols from the distillers and brewers, so there should also be crackdown on that particular dimension. Thirdly, people needs to be sensitized with respect to the health challenges which could be there into the hooch consumption. Fourthly, there needs to be enhancement of the rehabilitation centers for the habitual drinkers, so that their drinking intensity gets reduced and there are less number of fatalities in hooch instances. So friends, these all are the issues which are involved here. So I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to next. Now friends, this particular article talks about profiteering during the pandemic. So here certain references are being given. Now guys, as the lockdown started, the essential commodities such as normal masks, they were being sold at price as high as rupees 150. The same thing happened with the sanitizers. After that, the private hospitals, they went into overcharging spree, and they asked patients to pay lakhs of rupees even before they were given the bed. Guys, there was certain directions on this particular front. Then the hospitals started to ask the high cost onto the charge of the PPE suits, and in one case in West Bengal, out of 1.84 lakh bill, 1.4 lakh bill was because of the PPEs. Then guys, into the case of overcharging, even the medicines such as remdesivir, they are also being charged at such high rates. And now we come to the example of the ambulance, where ambulance owners are asking very high charges even for 5 to 7 kilometers. Then such overcharging also occurred when the migrants were trying to go back to their houses. And guys, such profiteering is also seen during the December 1984, when the Union Carbide explosion occurred in Bhopal, that is the Bhopal gas tragedy. Now in India, we have the Epidemic Disease Act 1897, to deal with the times of a pandemic crisis. But guys, there such a holistic regime with respect to the anti-profiteering has not been mentioned. Similarly, into the 2005 Act of Disaster Management, again such kind of thing has not been mentioned. So this is high time that overcharging should be incorporated into the Disaster Management Act, and it should be made as a punishable offense. Moreover, guys, apart from having the health and economic implications, there are also ethical implications. Morally, it is not justified to take advantage of somebody's petty situation. So, guys, on that particular ground, such instances are needed to be curbed as soon as possible. So, guys, this is all which are involved issues involved here. That's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular article talks about the Make in India and it could be used in the reference. Now, the Ministry of Defense has issued the Draft Defense Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020, which aims to enhance the defense manufacturing in India. And guys, the target has been taken that up to 2025, the defense manufacturing turnover will be nearly $25 billion, and it will include $5 billion of export of the defense equipments to the foreign countries. Now, guys, this particular thing will be achieving two objectives. First of all, will help towards the Make in India, and secondly, we have talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and therefore it will help in achieving the self sufficiency into the defense sector. Then, guys, see, under the draft policy, certain objectives have been taken. First of all, it has been said that the building up capabilities of the defense PSUs will be scaled up, and they will be envisaged as the defense exporting entities. Then, guys, secondly, it has been said that by the help of the government to government agreements, the exportability of Indian defense equipments will be explored. Then, thirdly, dedicated focus onto the aerospace industry will be given. For example, aerocraft build up, maintenance, repair, overhaul, helicopter manufacturing, engine work, etc. So, guys, all these things will be attracting a large number of foreign direct investment also in India. And for that particular thing also, if you remember, we had seen that the FDI has already been relaxed up to 74%. So all these things holistically will be helping on economic front as well as in increasing the defense capabilities. So, guys, as a reference we can use it. Please keep in mind. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular news mentions about the MG Narega running out of funds. Now, during the time of pandemic, this scheme proved to be very fruitful as it provided the employment of last resort to the migrants who returned back, and therefore was coming very handy into the reverse migration. But now, according to studies, it has been shown that out of 1 lakh rupees funding which was given for MG Narega, nearly 50% has already been exhausted. Moreover, guys, apart from this, there are substantial families into various states who had already exhausted the 100-day limit of employment which is provided under the MG Narega. On this particular thing, even we saw a separate article. Moreover, guys, even the projects which were provided to the gram panchayats which could be taken for MG Narega, these projects have also been exhausted. So on many accounts, there are problems into the MG Narega. So, guys, urgently, what is needed? First of all, it should be provided that the 100-day limit should be extended minimum to the 200 days, and if possible could be extended, because that the times of economic uncertainties are still there. Secondly, guys, additional funding to the tune of extra 1 lakh crore rupees should be provided to the states so that the implementation doesn't becomes a challenge. Thirdly, guys, as we can see that the projects have been exhausted. So first of all, if a person is not able to find the work under MG Narega, he should be given a kind of an unemployment allowance to made up for the lost wages. And after that, guys, there should be urgent sanctioning of new projects by the district management or by the state government, so that the areas where the exhaustion of 100-day limit is not there, or even the funding is there, there the things could be carried. Now, here the successful case study of Odisha has been given, which has provided substantial powers to the Gram Pradhan. The powers equivalent to the magistrate has been given to the Gram Pradhan, so he can successfully implement the payment and all such initiatives under the MG Narega. So guys, in order to avoid the further distress, government should take the immediate steps in order to further expand the scope of MG Narega onto the lines that we had discussed. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, here we can see that the China has suspended the treaty with New Zealand. So which treaty? The extradition treaty. So guys, these are the treaties which help in bringing back the criminals from other countries. For example, a person committed a crime in country A and he ran to country B. Now if country A wants to bring him back, the country A needs to have an extradition treaty with the B country. So China has suspended New Zealand's extradition treaty with the Hong Kong. Now, guys, it is not only with the New Zealand, but with a lot of countries. China had suspended the extradition treaty. They are the countries such as Canada, Britain, Australia. Now, why this is happening? This is happening because of the Hong Kong issue. So, few days back, China imposed the national security legislation onto the Hong Kong, and large number of Western powers such as the US, UK, they were criticizing the China's action. And in response, China earlier suspended the Hong Kong's extradition treaty with those countries and now with the New Zealand also, because China believes that New Zealand is also in line with the Western narrative of the Hong Kong episode. So guys, that's all here. Now we'll move to next. Now guys, this particular news mentions about the leopard census. First of all guys, some basic things. Leopard has been given the vulnerable status on IUCN red list. Now guys, in India we have the snow leopard, the clouded leopard and the Indian leopard. Right now we are talking about the Indian leopard. Now guys, why it is in news? So if you remember, the tiger census was carried recently and even the detailed report of the tiger census has been released. Now guys, it has been said that during the tiger census, the camera traps were laid, and into those camera traps, the images of other animals such as leopard have also been captured. So why not, onto the basis of that report, we can also bring the leopard census. Now guys, the last leopard census occurred in 2014, and thus releasing the tiger leopard census now is also an awaited step. So guys, this particular thing has been said here that the report on leopard sighting will be soon, but there is a problem into this particular thing. That is, habitat of the leopard as well as tiger are different, though there happens to be certain overlap, but guys, the similarity with respect to the habitat is not there. So how the report will provide the correct picture? It has been said that onto the basis of whatever images will be captured into the camera, an extrapolation study will be carried and we will derive the numbers. But guys, then extrapolation will not be the representative of the true numbers, and therefore it is suggested that an exclusive census for the leopard should also be carried. So guys, this is all which has been mentioned here. So that's it, and now we'll move to the question section. Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So question number 1 was with respect to the site Polonnaruwa. You will need to consider the statement and identify the correct code. Now, question number 2 is with respect to the GPS systems. Guys, please identify the statement and match them with the correct option. Now, guys, question number 3 is with respect to the first nuclear power plant that went operational in UAE. So, please identify the correct options. Question number 4 is with respect to the National Education Policy 2020. Please, guys, consider these statement and identify the correct code. Now guys, the main question, it is from GS paper number 2 and it is a 10 marker question. So question says that which tragedies in India are cocktail of various socio-economic factors? Trace such factors and discuss how they can be mitigated. So guys, it is a very direct question. You need to write it, and into the next class we'll discuss the mains answer framework for this particular question. So that's it guys. I hope you are liking our discussion. Thank you so much.